over the last few weeks, we've been thinking about whether or not we're in Bitcoin's next bear market. So Bitcoin's price hit 126K just a month ago or so, and now it's at just under 99 or under $100,000. And we want to discuss more about how to prepare for the next bear market and what our thoughts are on whether the bear market has begun or if there even is going to be a bear market. So, Forrest, before we started recording, you had some thoughts on this, and I had just prompted you. Um, Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of loose thoughts I'll try to tie together here, but I think we would. So looking at the 4-year cycles historically, they always or roughly extend out a few months each time they happen. 3 to 6 months there's sort of like an added amount of time that the next one happens. So if that was true, then the bear market would happen. A lot of people were speculating it would happen this fall, but if it continues to extend out, it would actually happen maybe sometime mid next year. But I think that the cycles are broken. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say this, and the reason for that is a few different things. So one thing that happened that I think people are forgetting about at this point is we hit an all-time high previous to the halving in 2024. That was the beginning of this time being different, and everybody is afraid to say that, right? Because they don't want to be wrong, right? And history ends up rhyming. But we hit an all-time high prior to the halving, and then we had a new entrant with the ETFs. We have the law of large numbers, so it's harder to affect Bitcoin's price, and we have the ETF is a new type of buyer. We also have strategy implementing additional new strategies to buy Bitcoin algorithmically, as it's as there's downward pressure on it, and 100+ other entrants that are institutional that buy differently than retail. So my theory is, without those three things, ETFs, strategy, and all the other Bitcoin treasury companies, 2025 would actually have been a bear market. We're up 9% right now on the year. They definitely affected the price more than 9%. So we had an all-time high previous to the halvings, which was different. And we had what would have been a bear market in the third year instead of the fourth. And it's only not a bear market because of these new entrants, essentially, at this point. And therefore, the cycles are broken. So what happens now is going to be more unpredictable. But if we had what I believe to be this downward cycle in this year, which I didn't expect really, but it's happened so far. What we're then, in my theory, in my opinion, we are primed for is a large increase next year, because we've had sort of the selling pressure necessary to recycle the holders, which is how how Bitcoin kind of works, right? There's only a finite amount of Bitcoin. They can't create more of it. There's only going to be issued a certain amount per 10 minutes on average. And the selling pressure we've seen has been people basically swing trading from previous cycles, thinking that the cycle is at the top or has already peaked. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. So those sellers have exchanged hands in who bought their coins, but people that are ready to swing trade for the next cycle, or longer term holders than that even. So I think that we continue to see this for a little while longer, but my theory is that we have 4 green years, this year just barely being green, and 2026 is primed for major uptick, in my opinion.
Feels like we got a new floor too. That's what I gather from it, because it seems like everybody's been talking about. We made a video a couple months ago talking about a potential bear market here. Everybody's been talking about it, thinking about it, everything. It just hasn't happened, which suggests to me that it might not happen for a while yet. Anyways, I mean, there's always going to be certain things and events that are probably unforeseen by most Bitcoiners. Like that's what happened the last time, is a huge exchange collapse, and that's what caused the next 6 or 8 months of pain. But there's just been so many things for us. You kicked it off with the the ETFs were a big part of that. The hitting a high before the what was it? All-time high before the halving? Is that what it was? Yeah. I mean, even just this week, we've seen 4 million new merchants get on board to Bitcoin. Like, eventually, this stuff catches up. I feel like in any other industry in history before, if there's enough demand, there's going to be more supply, and therefore it starts to come down a little bit or level off. But this is a whole different ball game here. And you also said you can create more of it, which is an important part of it. But I do feel like there's been some sort of things going on behind the scenes. It just doesn't really make sense to me at this point, based on all that information, that we would be where we are today. But I agree with Forrest. I think the cycles are broken. I think 2026 is going to be absolutely massive. I think that people should be happier than pig and shit that we're at $100,000 right now. Because if you're anything like me, I'm still in full accumulation mode in Bitcoin. And every time I can trade less dollars for more sats, I'm happy with that. And from the conversations I've had with people recently, there is a lot of worry. For some reason, there's worry because everybody was promised a price increase in the fall of 2025, and it just hasn't happened yet. And so they are starting to second guess themselves. They're starting to second guess their investment that they made. And it's like, you just kind of have to go through that stuff. I would actually rather somebody get in when it's going up, expecting it to go way higher, and it stays where it is and starts going down. Because then they learn their first lesson of Bitcoin, that things aren't going to go according to plan. And I think that that's part of every Bitcoiner's journey, is that they have to go through the highs and the lows. And on the other side of that, they're going to create a bunch of brand new, real Bitcoiners. And as the number of real Bitcoiners, the people who are here for the long term, goes up, that's only a positive thing for Bitcoin's price and just overall network.
Yeah, and when you go through one of those downturns, that's when you really become a hardcore Bitcoiner. That's when you realize, okay, this thing is not going away. It's because it doesn't go to zero. Where is it going to go at the lowest, like right now? What if it goes to like 40K? That's an opportunity, right? All it means is that we can exchange our dollars for more Bitcoin. You can give away today. You can give away $1. You can get something like 101,000 satoshis, or sorry, 1,010 satoshis. Is that what it is?
Are we actually below 100 right now? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, we're slightly below 100.
Yeah, so you can get more than 1,000 then.
So slightly more than 1,000. But if it goes to 40K, that's 2,500 satoshis per dollar. I remember when Bitcoin was at like 16K, and I had or no, not 16K, maybe like 25K or something, and I just had a $1 hourly buy going no matter what, and I didn't care, and it was buying like 4,000 satoshis per hour. I could only do that for a little while because I didn't have that much money back then. But I mean, that was the greatest opportunity to buy. So if it does go down, how do you prepare for that bear market? If it does go down, prepare to see your net worth decrease slightly. You're not buying Bitcoin with a 1 year time horizon, 2 years, 3 years time horizon. You're buying Bitcoin with a 10-year time horizon, 15-year time horizon. You keep stacking until you have enough Bitcoin to become financially free and to retire.
Yeah, totally. And Jory, you mentioned there being like a floor seemingly in this, and that I would say is because of the institutions that are here, right? They're buying the dip. They're decreasing the downward volatility. And that's why my theory is if they weren't here, 2025 would have been a bear market. And it would have also been sort of breaking the cycles with that too, because we didn't have a blow off top or any sort of major upside momentum, and we would have had a pretty down year had it not been for these institutions. So things have definitely shifted. And the other thing that's shifted too, I think largely, is the business cycle. So Bitcoin's been going up this whole bull market during a quantitative tightening, during interest rates going up, and those things are just starting to shift. Like, those things are just starting to shift. The interest rates at the short end don't seem to be affecting, or maybe there's a massive lag effect, but they don't seem to be affecting Bitcoin's price positively when they do shift, like when the Fed announces lowering rates 25 basis points. But quantitative tightening and quantitative easing, which is more to affect the long end of the yield curve, has been announced that it's going to be paused in December, right? The quantitative tightening, which is essentially allowing the assets to roll off the Fed's balance sheet. And when they're going to be neutral is the plan, it's pretty easy for them to immediately switch to quantitative easing when they need to, when they see something breaking, right? So I think the business cycle, which largely is affected by liquidity based on what the Fed is doing in the States, has shifted, right? There's been shifts, and that was largely caused by massive amounts of stimulus by the entire world in 2020 and a couple of years there. The other thing too, like, that we should maybe mention here is literally yesterday the last US penny was minted, right? We haven't had pennies in Canada for like 10 plus years at this point, I think, something like that. It's been a while, and this is just a sign of the money becoming worthless, right? Worth less. It's worth less every single day, every single year. It's crazy to me that the penny gets eliminated and Bitcoin drops below 100,000. This should be just absolute signal that you need to protect your value and you need better money.
Yeah, and if you think about why the penny's gone now, obviously it was costing more to actually mint it than it was worth. So that was a big part of it. But even if you look back at like menus from 40 years ago, you could actually buy like a plate of French fries for 3 or 4 cents. Like that's why the penny was actually relevant at the time. You can't buy anything for a penny right now. And it's like Forrest said, it's been gone for a long time in Canada here. And this just goes to show, that's what I actually wanted to highlight here, is today you could buy 1,010 sats for the US dollar. And if we look back here, if I zoom out a bit, and this is the time chain calendar, a really good reference for Bitcoiners. But you can slide it and you can see any block and what the history and the price and everything like this. So if we go like 8 years ago here, the price was oh, we hit a new block there and messed me up. Come on, time chain. Okay, well, I guess we got to watch time chain go through its new block celebration here. Okay, so 8 years ago, the price was $1,263 for one Bitcoin. And that same one US dollar 8 years ago got you 79,152 sats for $1. That's
Wow.
what you could buy with it. And to me, again, I just think that everybody's kind of waiting for fiat to collapse. Oh, we hit another new block there. But when you see that, when you see how much, like 8 years ago, you could buy 79,000 sats with $1. Today, you get 1,000. That to me suggests that fiat's already toast. We're just kind of watching it play out now. It's the late stages of it. It might even be past that. But I mean, it's there's signs everywhere for anybody who's looking. And that's kind of what I said to the people or the person that I was talking to the other day. I said, like, even if Bitcoin's going up and down, I know for a certainty that fiat's going in one direction and it's going down. Bitcoin's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up and down. Fiat's going one way, down. There's nothing that could turn that around at this point. Nothing. So it's like, where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be than in Bitcoin right now? Through the highs, through the lows, through everything. Take what you can, put it in Bitcoin. These are absolute opportunities for people who are trying to accumulate sats right now. This is an absolute blessing for people.
It even goes to show you that like one penny can buy 10 Satoshis today. And the penny, they don't even want to make the penny anymore because it's worthless. So are 10 Satoshis worthless? No, they should be worth a lot more. Right. Let's go into the fear and greed quickly. We can just show people. So right now, the market is in extreme fear. People are really scared. People are really worried. They're thinking that, oh, Bitcoin's going to zero, a lot of panic. But if you go to the max here, you can see here, the times when Bitcoin is down are when you want to buy. So June of 2022, Bitcoin, the fear and greed index was in single digit 6. When
Let's try this fear and greed index. I just sent it to you, Rajat. This one actually overlays Bitcoin's price, and it perfectly shows that Bitcoin it's a buying opportunity every time we go into fear and extreme fear.
Yeah, look at that. So here it was an extreme greed, and we hit the top. Here it was an extreme, or it was at the lowest. It was at the lowest for fear in that local area.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also neutral, right? Every yellow is all neutral. So that's
just moving sideways.
It's just moving sideways. Exactly.
Yeah. So you see here another one here. What is this?
Wow.
September 6th. Price was at 53K. And then again, this is what shows you that markets are just purely based on fear and greed. And it's just the more recent investors that are really determining this, right? Because they're the ones buying and selling. They're the ones who are going to buy at the tops, and they're the one who's going to sell at the bottoms, because they buy at the top and then they sell at the bottom because they don't quite understand what Bitcoin is.
So let's take a look at that last those two little major fears previous to that.
Here,
And yeah, so what's Bitcoin's price there? 82,000, and
82,000.
that's literally the local bottom there. And
Yeah,
then it went up to greed, not even extreme greed, and it rocketed to 104, right? So is this another potential buying opportunity? Just going off of this metric alone, which
yeah,
there's times where you're going to miss out if you use this purely for trading, right? Because if you're trading and you're buying or you're selling when it goes into greed, a lot of times it's just going to chop sideways until it goes neutral again, and it's not necessarily going to go into extreme fear to signal that you should buy again,
yeah,
but a lot of times it is. And so right there, you could see the previous time it went to extreme fear was a killer buying opportunity for
No
uh,
doubt.
for anybody, but for traders as well. And right now we are very close to extreme fear. We're about as close as you can get.
yeah. Like this is the time to buy, right? This is how you prepare for the bear market. You understand this stuff. You absorb everything that we talked about in this video. You watch this video like 4 times if you don't understand it, because this is how you absorb this content. Do it like once a week if you can over the next few weeks. And I feel like you're going to absorb more and more every single time. You learn about how Bitcoin works, and then you buy as much as you can. Don't worry about the price. Don't think about the dollar value. The dollar is worthless. They're already admitting it. The penny is worthless. Eventually, the dollar will be worthless too. Eventually, they won't make $1 bills anymore. They won't make nickels. They won't make dimes anymore because they're all worthless. Like if you go to
We don't
Argentina,
have a dollar bill here, Jat.
oh, we don't even have a dollar bill here. We have coins. We're gonna get rid of them probably at some point though, right? So if you go to Argentina, it's not like they make 25 cent or 25.25 peso coins. They don't even have anything in under 0 or under 1 anymore.
They might
So
not even have anything under 1 million now. Isn't it like 20 million Argentina pesos to buy like lunch or something there? Like it's just
no, the
nuts.
pesos a little bit stronger.
Oh,
It's
is
a
it?
little bit better. It's at like it's probably like 1,000 per US dollar.
Okay.
So at some point, like they're not gonna make anything. At some point, they're not gonna make anything below 1 peso.
So we
I don't
got
know
we
if it
got
already exists or not, but
we got peso sat parity then,
Yeah.
yeah,
by the sounds of it.
That's
yeah.
Japanese yen too. There's a guy in Japan that watches the daily stream that I do. And he said there was a point where it was 3 to 1. So 3
Wow,
sats for 1 Japanese yen. That's
Wow.
close.
Hmm. That is close. Yeah. So again, with this fear and greed index, I would, if I was doing a dollar cost average strategy and I was building an active position in Bitcoin, I would double down. I literally wouldn't look at the price. I would just say every time we're getting into fear territory, I would double my buy or something like that. Right. Just accumulate more in these times. Um, Personally, that's what I would do. And that's what I would find useful with this. I don't find it useful to sell because look at all of the extreme greed there. Any of those moments in extreme greed are lower than the current price, and we're almost in extreme fear,
yeah.
right?
Like, why would you sell here? Why wouldn't you sell when we go back to extreme greed?
Uh,
Like, if you really want to sell, right?
well,
Some people will sell now instead of selling. Like, they'll sell it
yeah,
out of fear because they think it's going to 0, and then when it's actually an extreme greed, they're buying even more.
yeah.
It's
If you
the
have to
opposite.
sell, if you have to sell for like living expenses or something, then yeah, I would probably wait till extreme greed. But
Yeah. But if you're just
I
selling out of
yeah,
fear, it doesn't make any sense.
makes no sense. Makes no sense at all.
So you could essentially do like an active DCA with this, right? If you like want to just check, let's say you're somebody who buys every day, you haven't automated it, and you're somebody who just puts like 5 or 10 or 15 or whatever you can afford into Bitcoin every day from your excess fiat. You could just look at the days and say when it's in greed, buy a little bit less. When it's in fear, double down, triple down, quadruple down. You're going to come out ahead. I think the only way you wouldn't do something like that is if you really believe that Bitcoin was going to zero for some reason. And some people believe that. So it's not for them. But if you think that Bitcoin is going to be around in 20, 30, 100 years from now, this is literally what you have to do. And if you can take on a little bit more effort and work and make this like an active thing that you do, if you stretch this out for a couple decades, like you're going to end up with way more sats just by paying attention to this kind of stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
And those sats at that time too are going to be worth 10, 20, 30x what they are today. So just factor that into everything here. I mean, you can't really go wrong with the DCA because you're taking the average there. But I think if you want to take a little bit more, put a little bit more work in and, you know, take 5 or 10 minutes every morning, not even that, like 2 minutes, you just literally got to go to this website, see what it says, and then buy based on that. Like it's really not that complicated.
No, you could automate it too, probably. I think River actually has
Oh
some
yeah,
sort of
River does. They have
automated
supercharged.
system. Yeah, supercharge, and it's likely based on this on some sort of indice like this.
It's based on
Yeah.
if the price is down 1%, then it doubles your buy.
Okay,
Love that.
cool. Yeah, and the other thing too, I would, I would caution people expecting a real bear market here because we dropped below 100K, because this is short-term price action where you trade sideways until there's sort of a correction one way or the other, and it's sort of a definitive move. And when we trade sideways in these time periods, that is often driven by whales moving spot Bitcoin and hunting leverage. And there are a lot of people that think that we're going lower, and there's a lot of short leverage, and those whales would probably want to liquidate that at this point. So I'd just be cautious of expecting it to go much lower.
Yeah, and to me, it's like I do subscribe to the theory that one thing that has been happening is that whales have been moving some coins that they've had for a long time, and I don't blame them one bit. As much as I like to talk about never selling Bitcoin and hodl forever, if I had 50,000 Bitcoin, I would sell a lot of that Bitcoin and the reason why I would do that is because I think I know where Bitcoin's going. I know in the future I'm not going to need 50,000 Bitcoin. I'm not going to need a fraction of that to live well. And so why not sell some of it now, enjoy my life with it while I'm still here, while I'm still healthy. And then I'm still going to have a crap load of Bitcoin there sitting for me. So I don't blame whales at all. I think that that's absolutely the play. But I think that at the same breath, that's becoming exhausted. I think that if there was a whale that was going to sell, he might have sold at 110, 105, 100. They're not waiting for it to go up to any amount or go down. I think that the majority of that would have been exhausted by now. I'm pretty sure anyways. Like when you're chopping this long or this sideways for this long, you're going to shake out a lot of those whales, and for good reason. Like I don't blame them one bit.
Yeah, the only reason I wouldn't want to do that as a large whale would be that I'm selling to BlackRock and Strategy.
Yeah,
and
true.
I mean, maybe some plebs are able to get some cheaper sats because I'm able to affect the price with my sale or something like that. But yeah, that's one thing that would stop me a little bit.
That's the other thing too, is like all these ETFs, all the sailors, all these big institutions buying, they're not buying on Coinbase. That their price isn't showing up anywhere. And I would actually like to see that data. I know we'll never see it, but I would like to see the actual data of how much they're paying for it and where it's all being kept right now. Because there's something weird going on. But either way, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Just my conspiracy mind.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let's wrap her up. This is a good show today. As Rajat said, if you're ever having a down day, just come back and watch this or watch more of our stuff. Like we're three of the most bullish people on the internet, I think, in terms of Bitcoin. Without being too crazy with it, I think we're very logically bullish about Bitcoin. And so just get a little Maple Bitcoin playlist going for your down days. So it's just kind of like your favorite song. Throw on some Maple stuff there. And the other part of it too, when you're going through this stuff, is having other people to talk to about it. Like I swear, after the conversation I had with the guy yesterday who was feeling pretty down because he bought in at, let's say, 115 and he's seen a drop. Like that's tough because you get into Bitcoin, you're really excited, you see the price going up, and then all of a sudden you get some of it and it starts dropping, tanking. And you're like, what the hell did I just do? And so I feel like even the conversation I had with him helped him significantly. I know both of you guys do the same thing with people. And so it's nice. This is why we have the Maple Bitcoin School community. There's 175 people from around the world in there now. And it's just people sharing information, sharing resources, sharing thoughts, helping each other through this kind of stuff. It's what it was built for.
Yeah, our goal is to help you to the hardest part of this thing is to hold, especially if you're new. At a point, it's like, okay, who cares who cares about the volatility? But before that point, it's very, very difficult to hold. And I think that's what I guess that's what we specialize in, right? We try to help other people to hold as long as they can, because over the long term, let's say even if the 4-year trend breaks where it keeps going up every 4 years, even if that breaks, hold for 10 years. Eventually it'll come back up because it's a finite asset and nobody can change that. Eventually, Bitcoin runs out at every single price. And that's our goal. Our goal is to explain that to you, because fiat is worthless. You want to get rid of your fiat.
Yep. 100%. And so that's what the community is for. Like Rajat said, for the conviction aspect, for the hodling. Part of the hodling also includes giving you lending options, so you don't have to sell your Bitcoin. It includes how to actually store your Bitcoin properly, how to manage your private keys. All these things are all to do with holding onto that Bitcoin as long as you possibly can. So that's what this community is for. There's 175 amazing Bitcoiners in there. It's growing every single week. And so you can join now using that QR code. We'd love to have you in there. So thank you, fellas. Another great episode today. And we got a QR code right beside Forrest said there too. The channel doesn't have any sponsors. We rely 100% on the community, and the community has helped big time. So thank you everybody for the support. And if you do want to send a couple freedom units across the airwaves there, you can just scan that QR code straight to the Maple Bitcoin Reserve. So thanks, fellas. We'll talk to you on the next one.